John Manson, how's it going, man? You doing all right tonight?
Doing doing good, man.
So got a little bit of a new setup here.
I like
Just
it. Is
thanks.
that your backyard?
Yeah, back porch. Got kicked out of the house. It was bedtime for the kids, and tonight was a little wonky upstairs. So yeah, I just moved out down here to get away from the noise and yeah, talk about conference realignment. So also, if you'll notice, I don't know, check it out there. We got a seaofred.com in the bottom left hand of the screen, looking good. Uh, so we're feeling good about these lives. We just got some good news coming about Brendan live with 55 on Saturday after the game. So feeling good about that. But the reason we called you into this tonight, John, is conference realignment. Let's start from the beginning and kind of walk our way through this thing. I'll give a little backdrop, and then you kind of share the news that dropped today. So be prepared for that. We Texas, Oklahoma leave the Big 12. Ian basically says he saw that coming. Texas and Oklahoma always had the opportunities, and even back when he was in the Big 12, he was a little nervous about that. He said that they kind of had talked about it. So also something very interesting is that Ian kind of predicted that conference realignment would start in 2025, which he said this was it. This was his prediction. It just came true a little bit earlier. So kind of that was amazing to me that Ian kind of this. He wanted Liberty to be situated with the independent situation and kind of Hugh Freeze when he hired Hugh Freeze, he was making comments about realignment and being prepared and having a good winning product on the field. He's been talking about the golden era. So I think Ian's been right on top of this. So I want to get that out there first. So Texas, Oklahoma leave the Big 12 as kind of was predicted by some of the insiders there. Um, the Big 12, then the AAC, which was the P6, or they have made claims that they are the P6. They want to remain the P6. Commissioner came out after Houston. Houston, help me here.
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati and UCF,
Yeah.
all three left. And the commissioner still comes out and says, "Hey, we're going to add teams. We're still going to be the P6." And then he also says, "Hey, you guys didn't consider us to be a at the Power Five level, but now it's ironic that you're taking our teams to replace some of your Power Five." So I thought he had some good points there. They're losing three of their biggest budget schools. That's important to note. And then you also have BYU adding to the Big 12. So we have seen things reported by the Athletic. We have seen things kind of everywhere else that the three main factors were going to be football success, um, resources at the school, and also the third one was at fan support. And the way you measure fan support in the athletics program is by the number of season tickets and the number of booster club. So basically, it's revenue generated is the stat that you can use to gauge fan support. So you and I, two of our friends, we went through and kind of went through the entire list of potential candidates, and Liberty was the top candidate when you ranked them by those three things, and we were all feeling kind of good about it. Not really. And all kinds of stuff comes out, and then the next thing to happen was the athletic article that was how many 3,000 words. Learned a lot in that article. I'll cover that in a minute. But basically, was feeling really good about Liberty's chances, kind of right there on the edge. Like we know we're going to be right up there. Ian makes some strong statements about, we're not just going to join any conference. It's got to be. And the one that kind of stood out to me was when he said, if you want to be P6, then you need to include a top 25, top 30 football team. That to me was talking right to the AAC commissioner because of his comments earlier about wanting to be P6. So I felt like Ian, through your article, was saying directly to the AAC commissioner, if you want to be considered a P6, you will have Liberty because we are a top 25, top 30 football program for the foreseeable future, our best days ahead, blah, blah, blah. So, all right, that kind of up. I will kind of talk about the article that came out yesterday, a little bbit more detail, but I've been talking a lot and I need my Kool-Aid. All right, Jon, what happened today and what does that mean? What does that mean for our champion, the AAC?
Well, I mean, it's nonstop. And the thing today was Dennis Dodd from CBS Sports came out and basically said, citing sources, he said that the AAC was planning to go west to the west. Boise State, Air Force, Colorado State, San Diego State, and then possibly also looking at a school like UAB. Which I'm not surprised at the Boise State. They kind of AAC and Boise State flirted before, right before COVID. And then COVID broke out, in the spring or first quarter there of 2020. So everything went on the back burners there for a while. So I'm not surprised they're talking to Boise State. But at the same time, I take that with a grain of salt because does Boise State want to leave the Mountain West to go to the AAC? Do they see that as a step up? The AAC is primarily, Midwest, East Coast, Southeast type conference. A few schools in the Northeast as well. Do they want to make that move, Boise State? There's also rumors of the Big 12 looking to go beyond the 12 members they have now, beyond those 4 that they just added. And maybe add a couple more. And if they were to do that, Boise State and Memphis are probably the next 2 most likely, most logical additions. So does Boise State kind of just hold out and wait and see what happens in the Big 12, or do they go ahead and bite the bullet and jump to the AAC? So my personal opinion is Boise State's not going to go to the AAC. That's my personal opinion. So if that's the case, then what happens with the AAC? Do they still want Colorado State, San Diego State? Because, I think they were just trying to grab those, 3, 4, 5 schools kind of towards the West Coast to lure Boise State into it. So if Boise State's out, I think they go back to the drawing board a little bit. I think UAB is probably as close to a shoe-in to the AAC as I can imagine. Just everywhere, their name pops up everywhere. So I think they're pretty close to probably being at the top of the list. But you got a lot of schools on the East Coast. App State, Liberty, Coastal Carolina. We can talk about some others, but that makes sense. And you could build. I'm sure we'll get into it, but you could even start a brand new FBS Mid-Atlantic Conference, kind of like Ian kind of talked about briefly in the article we had earlier this week. So. It's a fun time, and Liberty's in a good place. The one thing I'd like to say is part of me, like Ian predicted and makes sense that this would all happen in 2025. And I felt like that would have been perfect for Liberty because, they need a couple more years of success. Right now, they only had that 1 year. Flames Club season tickets are still growing at astronomical levels. They need to catch up a little bit with, teams like App State, for example, as far as fan support and things of that nature. But it would have been nice to get 2 more seasons of football, or certainly this season and another top 25 type team and finish would have really helped. But it's definitely a fun time to be a Liberty fan, and we'll just have to sit back and watch and see what the next dominoes are.
Yeah, I've been shaking my head the whole time you're talking because today's article kind of felt like a jab in the heart. And the reason it did is because one, we did that study based upon the original criteria that came out. That was school resources, fan support, and football success. Liberty was a shoe-in. Okay. Then we have the Athletic article that comes out and basically says, hey, look, we don't think the AAC is going to be looking for TV markets like they used to, like big cities. We think they're going to be looking for number of streams, passionate fan base. That was huge for me. Whenever I heard that they weren't looking for big like TV markets, because we would be competing against UAB, we would be competing against Charlotte, a few others that have huge TV markets. And here we are in Lynchburg, which I think is the 76th biggest TV market in the country. So when I heard that, I felt good. Also, something else that made me feel really good was that there's 4 new presidents in the AAC. Okay, so 4 new presidents within the year. Within the year, there was 4 brand new presidents and 1 more to be replaced. I think there was 3 brand new ones, and then there's 1 coming up in Memphis, maybe, that's going to be the new one. And so why is that excite me? Because, they haven't dealt with Liberty in the past. They don't, it's kind of like a fresh set of eyes on our university. We've been through leadership changes, so that kind of was exciting to me that we're not branded anything with these particular presidents in terms of how we've dealt as a university with them in the past. Not that we had dealt badly with anyone. I just think that it was probably advantageous for us to have new fresh blood in there, considering the way that our last president kind of left, and or kind of had an interim president. So it was, that felt good to me. Other things that felt good were the ability to basically, he's the one who talked about the football success, and the school budget being a huge one. And you look at some of these other schools that were in the running, they who can even afford that $6 million buyout in the Conference USA. So let's say they go to ECU and say, hey, ECU, do you want to come and join us? That would be right over top of Liberty. Could they even afford? I mean, they had, well, I think you shared it with me that they had raised 4.5 million in their athletic revenue for this year, and the buyout 6 million. So there's no way any of those schools could compare with either of those numbers. Really, when you looked at it, it was school resources. We are by far and away the one that has the largest endowment. Our endowment's over $1 billion. The rest of those were around 300 million or lower. Even App State, I believe, was somewhere in 200s. So with endowment, school resources, we're way up there. Even with athletics revenue generation, we're way up there. So the thing that bothered me about today was I felt like he had sources that were saying these are the top 5 schools, and Liberty wasn't anywhere in there. So I got 2 questions for you, John. One, your gut feeling, 100% being we're getting the invite and we'll accept it. 0% being there's just no chance. Where do you stand on that? And then the second question is kind of what you had mentioned to me the other day. Where do you think we're leaning right now? Do you think we're leaning? I think, and if you know which comment I'm talking about, with the 3 different options we have, which one's the favorite? Which one? How? I love how you put it the other day. So if you don't get it here, I'll kind of recap that. But answer those 2 questions at where you're at. I know I'm talking with my hands a lot out here tonight. Maybe it's just the back porch and being outside. Can y'all hear the crickets?
I don't hear them.
Okay, well, it feels good out here. I'm talking with my hands a lot. But John, 0 to 100, and then also, where do you rank the 3 options that Liberty has?
Yeah, well, for the AAC, I mean, I think it's less than 50%. I'd still put it up over 25 to 50%. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Like, Chad, I feel like you're being pessimistic tonight, and I don't think we should be pessimistic. I mean, like Ian said, and I put it as a last quote in my article the other day, is regardless of conference alignment, the best days for this athletic program are ahead, and we all agree with that. Whether it's going to the AAC and getting that invite, which I think we would all jump at that chance right now, or staying independent, or possibly the Sun Belt. I feel like the Conference USA is out. Like, nobody wants to go to Conference USA. Teams are trying to get out of that and jump off the sinking ship. But I wonder about the Sun Belt. Like, if the Sun Belt keeps App State, Coastal, Louisiana, that's a good conference. They're every bit as good. They're better than the Conference USA. They're every bit as good as the AAC. With their teams leaving, what if they came in and were able to add a Liberty, a JMU, and maybe another school that might be somebody from the Conference USA, or maybe a low level AAC member in East Carolina, Marshall, somebody like that is what I'm thinking. I mean, that would be a good conference, and I think that makes sense for Liberty. I think right now, if I had to guess, Liberty's probably leaning towards the independent route. If the AAC falls through, I think they're probably leaning towards the independent route, because you can kind of sit back. I mean, it's what BYU did. They sat back. They could have gone to the Mountain West anytime they wanted to and been, kind of made that conference take it to the next step, next level. But they sat back, said, why do we need to go to the Mountain West? We're fine where we're at as an independent member and a West Coast member for other sports, including basketball. Liberty can do the same thing. BYU sat back, waited. Big 12 came begging for them, and there they were. And Liberty can do the same thing. They can sit back, continue to build, continue to win, continue to devote resources to the athletic programs. I mean, the one thing that we all know as Liberty fans is there's a lot of baggage for Liberty to overcome. Obviously, with former president, other things. I mean, Liberty just doesn't align with most universities' theology and ideology. It's an opposite for 95+% of colleges. So I think we're good. I think Liberty's good. I think just sit back, continue to build, continue to put resources into the programs. And but my gut says we're still independent here going forward. I'm really interested in this Mid Atlantic conference, new FBS conference, and see how that could shape out. I think for fans that would be perfect. I mean, you and I have talked about that a good amount the last couple of days. But could you imagine a conference with Liberty, ODU, Charlotte, App State, Marshall, maybe a Navy, Temple, Coastal Carolina, maybe the Georgia schools, or you could even dip down into Florida if you want to. I mean, just from a rivalry perspective, fan interaction. I mean, you've seen what's going on Twitter tonight with the comments from the ODU safety about Malik Willis, and people just having fun with that, going back and forth with ODU fans because that's fun. We don't get that every week when we're playing New Mexico State or UMass even, or UConn or even Troy. It just, those fans were so disconnected from those fan bases. So, I'm looking forward to see what happens, but I think independent is probably where we go.
Yeah, I'm with you. So the comment that I was trying to pull out of you that you kind of summarized there was, we would jump at a chance at the AAC. We're confident and sustainable in the independent, and we would have to kind of wait and see on who goes in this MAC, and we're kind of playing with it right now. It's not really a viable option. I think it's just to see who all would join it. Yeah, you summarized that really well. So two things. One, John, that's why I have chugged my Gatorade or my Kool-Aid here, is because it did put me in a bad mood. That article, I was like all the signs are pointing towards Liberty, and then this article comes out, cited sources saying these are the 5 schools, and it was a CBS Sport. I mean, I believed it. I think he's true. I do also think that Boise State could pull out, like you're saying, and that will jump right back in.
At the same time, I think we need to take it with a grain of salt, because if you read all the way through the end of that article, they laid out, like, if you were to realign the 3 G5 conferences outside of the AAC, and they named 10 teams for 3 different conferences, an East Coast, a Midwest, and a West Coast. Liberty wasn't even included in that. So either Dennis, no offense to Dennis Dodd, I mean, I've never met the guy, or I don't think I've ever talked to him or interacted with him, but is he just thinking that Liberty is not a school, not an FBS school? I mean, or does he have a grudge against Liberty? All those things could be at play there. So, do I agree that the AAC is likely going after these Mountain West schools first? Yes, I've always felt that. We'll see what happens. So take it with a grain of salt. Don't get depressed. It's all good. And like you said at the beginning, as long as we got Ian McCall leading the ship, like, he's plugged into this, he knows what he's doing. This isn't his first rodeo. We'll be fine.
Josh me off the ledge. I appreciate it, friend. There was a comment in the chat that said "hater of the year." You know what? It's just one of those nights. I just cut on some Eric Church. I'm gonna drink my LU Kool-Aid tonight and kind of get over that article. You're right. Take it with a grain of salt. We have the best man in the country leading the program, both football and AD, if you ask me. If we get the AAC invite, maybe. But here's the other thing. One last thing, John. I know that it's cutting close to here to bedtime for your kids, obviously. What does Ian have to do to get AD of the year? He's not going to get AD of the year at Liberty. He already won it in the nation one time back at Baylor. But what I was going to say is, John, one positive thing is the Big 12 might not be done with realignment. That article also mentioned that Memphis and who's
Boise
the other
State.
one? Boise State.
Mm-hmm.
Memphis and Boise State. So if another one from Memphis leaves the AAC, that could open up another spot. So a lot is between us and an invite in terms of, like, there's a lot of stuff to go down. We will try to track it all down. But I was on this really high until that article today, and it kind of swooped me down. John, you come swooping in, and along with the LU Kool-Aid here, and we're kind of back on track here. Got the If we get the invite to AAC, will we accept 100%? 1,000%.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly what Ian was talking about when he said, if you want to be P6, you will add us.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that was a direct comment at the AAC. If they
Chad,
offer,
I want to throw something at you. Yeah, I agree. We'll take a AAC 100%. What are your thoughts on the Sun Belt? Do you think? I mean, I think 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, we probably say no, we don't want the Sun Belt. But now with App State and Coastal and what they've done, I mean, should Liberty jump at a Sun Belt offer?
Yeah. Honestly, yes. I'm leaning there. I've kind of been there above Conference USA. You know what else? If App State and Coastal are both there, and then a few of their other schools are really good too. I think if they could add, get us a regional, like we already have a couple regionals in there, but bring in an ODU with us, bring in a JMU with us to the Sun Belt. That would be perfect. That would, in my opinion, John. Now, I don't know. I haven't done the studies on this, and everybody can kind of say what they want. But if you add Liberty, keep Coastal, keep App State, keep everybody you have, add Liberty to that conference, and maybe one more, maybe pull somebody from the demolished AAC right now, maybe pull an ODU or a JMU. That is an awesome conference for us to be in, and maybe that's the P6 conference. Maybe that's the new. I mean, what Coastal and Liberty on the rise right now have done in parallel is beyond existence in the past of college football. Nobody has ever gone this fast. I think somebody pulled it in a chat that we were in together the other day. They looked back over the last 20 some years. The only programs to ever be this successful leaving FCS to go to FBS are App State, Coastal, and Liberty. If they were all three in the same, all three on that same trajectory together in a conference, it could be P6 in a couple of years, no problem. So I think Sunbelt would be great. But you know, I'm probably in the minority there. John, whew, that was a lot, man. We'll do it again, and look forward to seeing you on Saturday as we beat ODU by 27.5. What do you say?
Yeah, man, let's go for it. Hey, so you're going live with 5-5 Saturday night? What
Yep.
time?
So right at about 45 minutes after the game ends, he's got to shower, say hello to his girlfriend and family, and then we'll go live. One thing we have added, John, we have added to the YouTube channel, so we're streaming live on YouTube. I'll try to tweet that link out a couple of times here over the next few weeks. So if you want to rewatch this and you don't want to scroll through the Twitter feeds, go over to YouTube, subscribe to our channel. Over the way you can get all of these lives all in one place. Mike, Mike pointed out it's impossible to win by 27.5. But ODU to win by 27. How about that? How about if we win by exactly 27? We'd all leave the game happy. We just crushed ODU, and there you have it. So, all right, you guys have a great night, and John, thank you very much. Go Flames.